see if I can get this set up like I know what I'm doing. It's been quite a while since I've streamed anything. So, and I don't know, I didn't do much fanfare about this, and I don't really know if this is like a live thing, you know, ranking this stuff, but I've seen other creators do it. It was suggested in the previous video I made about season 1 and season 2, so we're here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna stream. We're gonna talk about season 3 of The Office. I'm going to use this video for other purposes. So streaming it live, double dipping, really. Streaming live, and then we will be editing this video down to its, something a little bit more digestible I could stick at the end of a playlist. So if you're on, thanks for joining. We're going to end up I'm going to go through the rankings, and then we could do chat and different things if you want. I will kind of be paying attention to the chat. I think I have it set up to show up, but I am not 100% sure that I know I'm that good. I'm not. You guys know me. I'm not. This isn't me. So, just glad to be here. Glad you're here. Let me find my notes because that's also who I am. Okay, so last time I did a video, I did ranking season 1 and season 2 of The Office together. And I don't 100% know if I nailed it, but kind of the point of doing it in my mind is that as I'm getting closer to the end of season 9, I do fully anticipate on doing a crazy long video at some point, similar to what 10K Bill did a few years ago, where I just rank every episode of The Office. And I've been ranking every episode of The Office already, but I mean, what's wild is that my opinion has changed so drastically throughout the few years I've been doing this series that, what I might have marked a 2 out of 5 in season 2 it might be a 4 out of 5 now. So living in season 8 might be changing my opinion of things. So if you're on, appreciate it. And, we'll just kind of dive into some of these. Let me see if I can do one more thing to help me. Okay, cool. Let's see what else. So the way that I wanted to do this was I went ahead and I wrote down notes. I wrote down this is a little. I have said on the show before that I think in bullet points. I think in bullet points. So in my notes, I wrote down every episode of season 3, and then I gave myself 3 bullet points of just what I could think of off the top of my head about that episode. So I'm not working from any predefined list of rankings. There's just the list of episodes, and then, we're going to be ranking them. And we'll talk about them a little bit here and there. But what's fun, and the way it actually kind of worked out, is because I planned on doing this a few weeks ago, so I wrote down all my notes a few weeks ago, but I didn't. And then in the meantime, I actually went back through and I rewatched all of season 3. So a little bit more fresh in my mind, and I'm excited to talk about it because there's some great stuff and some takes that I may have had in those field guides that I might disagree with. And so, it'll be interesting at some point. I might just fight myself. All right. So, and I did, off the top of my head, I did see out of the corner of my eye, so we are not talking about the Superfan episodes. I do have a video coming out about Superfan episodes, but these are just the stock original cuts of The Office. So there's that. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else to get to. Let me change my screen because I'm sophisticated and cool, and I can do that. And look, you guys can all look at yourself chatting. I did, I feel pretty proud of myself. Also, my blood sugar is riding high right now. I'm feeling not like crazy high, feeling good. Just had some food, so I'm certain by the end of this, I will be lost. And all right, so one of the feedbacks that I got from the last video was to go in chronological order rather than ranking individual tiers. So I will do that. I will be starting from the gay witch hunt and go through sequentially to the job, and we will do that. And then two, I'll throw it in there. We'll talk about it. If somebody's got something that might be able to convince me otherwise, you know, I'm pretty easily swayable. So let me know if you have strong feelings about any of my rankings. And other than that, yeah, let's just dive into it. Like I said earlier, we're going to go into this. I'll do this stuff live. I'm going to edit this video down later so I can stick it at the end of the season 3 field guides playlist. And then, you know, after we're done ranking, then I'll stick around and chat for a little bit if people want to chat. And if not, I don't care. I will just go play a video game or something. All right. So I have not pre-ranked these. I have just watched them and just taken some notes. So my 3 bullet points, we'll just start with I'm already feeling anxiety and tension over ranking these things. Okay, so Gay Witch Hunt is the very first episode of season 3. My 3 bullet points that I wrote for this is Gaydar is the improv Michael and Oscar kiss, and the Jim Pam split up reveal. Like I said, I just rewatched this episode, and I gotta say, I was enthralled. I was intrigued. I was excited. I think in the field guide, I might have been a little too critical on this episode because of the one moment that is so impactful, which is the moment reflected here in the thumbnail. Yeah. Oh, also, I see. This is why I'm bad at this stuff. I don't think clearly when I'm just going live. I decided not to name the rankings, so if people want to name them for me, that would be dope. I will. We'll figure it out later. But I'm just gonna keep the default rankings because everybody knows what those things are. For me, Gay Witch Hunt. I absolutely loved this episode, and I love the experience of watching it. I'm gonna start with Gay Witch Hunt at an A. I'm going A on it. This is if I have anxiety, this is my anxiety. Let's see. Okay, so we'll move on. Feel free to yell at me, and we'll go from there. So the Michael Scott in the convention episode, the 3 bullet points I wrote the bus, which is a very small joke about that football player, who I'm blanking on the name of right now. I wrote humanizing Michael, which I assume was I guess, yeah, I mean, you get to see that moment of Michael in the room, kind of lost and desperate when Girls Gone Wild is playing. I can't say that on the stream, can I? When Girls Gone Wild song is playing on the party background with the strobe light, and he's just sitting in there sad and depressed. And it's a really good moment because Jim comes in there. So I thought that was good. And then the follow-up of the blood, urine, or semen, which, okay, sure, I just demonetized the stream. Feel free to do super thanks or something like that, just in case. So while watching this episode, I did really also enjoy the experience. This is how this goes, right? Like you place one and then you have to start making decisions from there. So I'm going to put this at a B, because I think that it's fantastic. Eesh. Yeah, you start second guessing. Okay, so the coup. For my three things I wrote here, I wrote breakfast food, which I am a major fan of. My wife and I own a waffle company, and Dwight is just going ham on some. Dwight is just going ham on some waffles. Uh, Dwight is okay. I wrote down Dwight is tenacious. He's a detective in this, and he's also a liar. So I was also just really intrigued, and I always get intrigued with how the writers use Michael and Dwight for different purposes from a literary perspective in all of these episodes. So this is one of those ones where Dwight is a actual uh, he's very good at reading people. He's very good at understanding social situations, like not in like a normal way, but in a Dwight way. He's very good at it. He's reading Jan like, you shop here. These are the kind of blouses you like. This is the shoes you like. You should go here, and she listens for no other reason other than he's right. So there's a lot of good there. And then the third bullet point I wrote was that Angela can be in charge of the women. So that was a fantastic line, and I really enjoyed this episode. I do love one thing that season 3 did a very good job of is a consistent continuity across the entire season. And so in my mind, when you get to Traveling Salesman and still things are popping up from the coup, it is masterclass to me. So we're putting this right next to Gay Witch Hunt on the A tier. I think it's up there. And now I'm like questioning if any of this is going to work, because we're going to have a whole bunch of A and S tier. Somebody tell me what that is. Somebody in the comments just said, what about Crentis? Crentis is that okay. Yeah. That exchange between Michael and Dwight, that whole segment of Michael knows and Dwight doesn't know that Michael knows is one of the best bits in the entire series, between Michael and Dwight, of just pure and utter nonsense and chaos and craziness. I love it. It's good. A tier is where it goes. All right, grief counseling. I'm going to be honest with you. This one, I did have a few different feelings on. The more I've learned about the series over the years, I don't know what I thought about this originally, to be honest. In my notes, I wrote down Pam singing, funeral for a bird, and Michael says that his soul's getting hit by a guy, getting hit in the crotch by a guy with a frozen hammer or something to that effect. And yeah, so one of the things that I love knowing the background details of some of these episodes. And I recently talked about it in the Mindy Kaling writing video, where we were talking about how Mindy would be so angry, or so passionate is probably the right way to say that, so passionate over her perspective or her thoughts on how something should have been handled. And this was an episode in which she got into an argument with Greg Daniels and the rest of the writing staff, and he sent her home for the day. And it has to be, right? Like, it's not clear, as far as I know, what the argument was over, but it has to be over the sitcom, buddy, wholesome, heartfelt moments inside the grief counseling episode, right? And the evidence for that, is this why people watch this? Because I know all these things? I'm sure you people know more than I do. But the evidence for that is that I remember in the in the episode where Jim and Dwight are throwing snowballs at each other in season 7, season 8, 7, because Michael is leaving. They're throwing snowballs at each other, and they're jerks to each other. And Jim is specifically a jerk. And Mindy Kaling was on record saying I didn't want to do the normal sitcom crap where these guys just become BFFs and that's not funny anymore. And so when she had the reins for that episode, she wrote them in a very different way. And so it has to be in my mind. The problem with grief counseling was that it was too wholesome or too sweet towards Michael when he's supposed to be the villain, or at least the reluctant villain at this point. So, you know, it's a. I actually felt things when I watched this episode in the last time that or this last week. And maybe that's just things going on in my personal life, but I thought the deeper meaning of, I thought it was good. I'm going to go B, but I feel like that one might move, Okay. I don't know if I need to speed this up or not. Somebody tell me if this is, oh no, I moved that. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. The next episode, The Initiation. So the bullet points, I only wrote down 2. I wrote down that Michael is afraid of snakes and the Dwight and Ryan story. I didn't have a lot to say about this when I just did my initial bullet points. So I will say I also equally super loved watching this episode, which has been a theme so far. I have really enjoyed my experience rewatching season 3 this last week. So, okay. Part of the thing that I don't think I appreciated when I was originally going through this series for the field guides is how much attention they wanted to give Ryan Howard as a character. That he really was being built up. Now, having gone through season 1, 2, and 3 in the last couple of weeks, he really was being built up to be a pillar of the show. And what I think always is kind of a bummer is that later in season 3, he's moved back to the annex and he takes kind of an ancillary role for the rest of the series. And so this episode gives BJ Novak some actual time to play with the character as written originally. But all up, if I have to rank these things, and this is all just within itself, I think I'm going to give it a C. And unless somebody says something in my, okay, yeah, just as you planted the seed, I will plant my seed in you. Yes, but that's why it's C. So moving on, Diwali is maybe an episode I feel like I think I rated this really highly. Diwali, the field guide that I wrote, is interesting because I made that back in early 2020. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. So I wrote that early in 2020, maybe late 2020. I don't exactly remember, but what has been interesting is that each Diwali since then, that video gets a significant bump from the from the algorithm. So it does make me want to revisit that video at some point. All right, so what I wrote down here, I wrote 1, the cringe proposal, 2, the cringe rebound, which is, if I remember what I was thinking, was Michael going to kiss Pam on the rebound, which, okay, this is weird. I was just watching, taking the whole thing in, and I was kind of like, oh, I get why Michael was picturing in his head what was happening between him and Pam in a way I don't think I've ever picked up before. It's still creepy and it's still bad. You shouldn't kiss people that work for you. But it was a thing. And then the third was the cringe conference room meeting in which just so much is happening, and it made me miss the days of the Killing Field conference room experience, or these bits that they would do in the conference room where it was just click, 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 something's happening, and there's just joke after joke after joke after joke. And the one discussing Hindi belief systems and mythology is absolutely fantastic. So, also people that follow the channel know that I'm a little bit apprehensive of videos or episodes where they go out of the office. I think, well, now I feel like I'm gonna put this at B, but let's see. Um, yeah, sorry, Hindu mythology. Hindi is the language. Um, and then yeah, I don't know. Now I feel like the initiation needs to move. I'm putting an initiation here. People rank these things linearly, right? Uh, horizontally, I mean. So leave me alone. Or let me know, not leave me alone. Okay, so the next episode after Diwali is branch closing. Right. So what I wrote down here is Stanley is stoked for the change. Michael and Dwight go on a quest to save the branch, and Jim decides to date Karen in this episode. So that is one thing that I don't think I had picked up before the Office is before just like watching The Office casually, is that Jim does not, they like flirt for the previous 6.5 episodes, but it's not until the very end when Jim is sure he's going back to Scranton that he says anything to Karen about, hey, you should go to Scranton too, because before that he's like, why would you go to Scranton? You could go anywhere you want. And so I've always kind of felt like that was a bad thing to do. She even says later, I moved to Scranton for you. But I think overall, I think this is one of my favorite episodes because it has my favorite moment of Michael and Dwight at the David Wallace's house outside, and the quest is so important to them, and they do nothing all day except discuss it, and then at the end of the day, it all works out in their favor, and it's ridiculous, and they're so excited, and they're laughing and high-fiving, and then it quiets down, and they say, how did we do it? And then Michael says, I don't know. And then it cuts. It's perfect. Like, it's one of these shots that I think is perfect television, and it was perfect. So I give it an A, but I feel like when we're done, we might recalibrate all of this. Recalibrate is my corporate person coming through. Sorry about that. All right, next up is the merger, which is when everybody from Stamford goes back to Scranton. I'm going to be honest with you. Not my favorite. It has some good stuff. So Pam immediately tries to get with Jim. Immediately. And there's the Scranton rap. And then there's the foreshadowing when Dwight tells Michael that he should fire that guy. I'm blanking on his name. Is it Pepperoni Tony? So Anthony something. And then later he does end up firing that guy, Pepperoni Tony. But what's his real name? Gardner. Yep, Tony Gardner. So anyway, he that is a good bit. This episode doesn't give me like, it feels like a waiting room episode. Like you're kind of waiting for stuff to happen. And it also feels like I don't know. It feels a little bit, the words are failing me. It feels like it's jumping the shark a little bit in the sense of, Michael and Dwight being oblivious to, the size of this guy. And they're just like, oh, go and be a part of this. And I get that's kind of the joke, but it doesn't feel grounded. And then that is the joke of the episode. Is that moment. And I don't know. I didn't love it, but I was also at this point also very intrigued with the Jim, Pam, Karen drama. So I don't know. I'm gonna give this a C, and you guys can tell me in the comments that I'm stupid and that you hate me. Um, but I would love to rank that higher. But I think that's how I feel about it. Now, okay, I am excited about talk about the Convict. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna take a drink. This is not sponsored by Raising Cane's. All right. So the Convict is a episode I kind of remember getting some hate for in the comments and on that field guide. And I okay, so in my notes I wrote Prison Mike because that is obviously the number one thing from this episode. I wrote Dwight's butt entrapment, which is when he dangled the dollar bill or something out of his back pocket. And then Martin quitting. So, okay, I rewatched this, and like I've said 1,000 times on the stream so far, I really enjoyed the experience of this episode. I feel like I don't think I appreciated what they were doing as much as what I thought during the original field guide. I think the Prison Mike moment is the icing on the cake, but the cake is pretty good too. This episode is pretty consistently nonstop funny jokes, action. It's always moving, and it works really good. And then the audacity of Michael locking people into the room to demonstrate like that the like what prison is like is stupid and kind of jumping the shark, but also in a way that you could see that someone who's kind of dealing with a lot of things that Michael's dealing with at the time might just be like, oh, this is a good idea, because turning a key is a little bit more, a little bit easier than hoisting a large fella up onto a table that may not be able to support him. So I'm gonna say that this one's gonna go S tier, which also makes me think I need to move Gay Witch Hunt. I'm gonna move Gay Witch Hunt. All right. Okay, a lot just happened there. Follow along, everybody. Okay, so next up is Benihana Christmas, and I actually watched this twice in the last month and a half because we always watch the Office Christmas episodes and on Christmas Eve, and so we watched that, and then I watched it again in context. I think I like this episode a lot more in context of the season. When you're just watching the Christmas episodes itself, I actually don't like this episode that much, but in context of the season, I actually think this was great. There's a lot here. The 3 bullet points I wrote was You and I Belong Together. Ryan, that's the song, You and I Belong. There's casual racism. Yes, dealt with that in the field guide. Actually, fun fact, so I'm pretty sure that actress watched my field guide and then made some comments, and then that story got picked up back in, I think, late 2020. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that right. I'd reached out to see if she wanted to talk about it on the channel, and I never really heard back. So, well, I'm pretty sure that comment's still out on that video if you want to go check it out. Let's see. So, okay. And then I also put, the party planning committee Civil War is in that episode. And I actually really enjoyed that too. I think the Benihana sequence is great. The couple that's in the way, if you've ever been to a hibachi, is it works, and sometimes people behave in weird ways. Let's see, what else is there to talk? So the goose thing at the beginning, the cold opening, I feel like that is iconic Dwight begging Toby for permission to cook his goose there. That's great. I don't know. I don't love okay. let me talk about this then. I don't love the resolution of this episode. Um, I most okay. So the preceding two Christmas episodes, if I'm remembering correctly, there is a Christmas episode in season two, right? My, yeah, I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Um, the the previous episode, Christmas episode for sure, is a downer, downer, downer reversal musical montage that you feel good about. And I think there's a season two Christmas episode. Nobody's coming through for me. We're changing this. Season two. We're going live. Live Googling, everybody. Season two, The Office. There's got to be Christmas. Yeah, Christmas party. What happens? Somebody tell me what happens in the Christmas party episode. I'm lost. Season two Christmas party. Yankee Swap. That's okay. I total brain fart moment. I was thinking season one had the Christmas party. Season two is the Christmas party, and then season three's. So this was not a pattern. There was not a pattern established. So Benihana Christmas actually follows the opposite arc of the first one was downer, positive, third act montage that you feel really good about and kind of hopeful because Pam ends up with the teapot and Michael ends up getting friends. He gets invited out. Feels really good. This one feels different. Like there's a lot of things going on, but the third act musical montage is not super good. Like I want to say Michael's with someone that he's not going to stay with. Jim and Karen are giving each other their gift. No one's super happy there. I want to say there's like set up for Roy and Pam's season 3 fling. And then it just resolves with Michael revealing his racism as not a joke, Jim laughing about it, I presume because he's a little drunk, and then Jim giving the idea of what a rebound is, and then Michael goes and ruins the next 2 years of his life. So with Jan, to be clear. So I don't know. All up though, I did enjoy this episode. I'm gonna put it here in the B, and then we'll move on. All right. Thank you, by the way, for coming through in the chat on that one. Okay, next. Next up is Back from Vacation. Okay, so the 3 things I wrote is Michael and Jan did it. That sequence with Michael saying that, where he's just step by step revealing, it's fantastic and I love it. It's like a little kid trying to tell you something, but he's not supposed to give it away, but he just keeps like, we did it. Sex. We had sex. It's like, it's fantastic. Tan everywhere, Jan everywhere. I love the reveal, the moment in the conference room where Pam's like, is that Jan? And then the whole episode spirals, and there is so much energy for the rest of this episode. I actually so culminating to the moment where Michael is downstairs getting them to remove the things from the warehouse, and Jan comes walking down the steps, and there is a feeling that's happening. It works so well because of the pacing of the episode so far. So, okay, I don't know. I'm putting this at A tier. You guys can tell me that's awful. That's fine. Okay. I didn't even say the other 2 things that I had for this. Post-vacation blues, right? So when the Urkel grew, that's a good one. So Michael comes in with that drum thing, and he's so excited to play it for Pam. And then there's a shot later where he's outside in the cold playing it, and it's hot, hot, hot. And then he goes, and it's down in the warehouse on the ground for some reason, and the you know, pile jack. What do you call that thing? Skid loader. I don't know. Machine runs over it, and and then the camera pans to Michael, and it's just like vacation's over, and it works so well. I love it. Oh, also I wrote down Pam helps Karen and Jim, which is the emotional piece of that episode too, where Pam helps the whole like argument about Pam and or Jim and Karen, like whether they should live 10 minutes apart. And I love that because you can tell that's written by someone who's not totally familiar with Scranton, because like Scranton itself is not, it's not that big. So living 10 minutes away from each other is not like what living 10 minutes away from each other in LA is. And so it is a different, it's like a joke that works if you don't know necessarily the layout of Scranton, but, or a bit that works. But also, like, if your girlfriend lives 10 minutes away, I do think Jim was being a little iffy about it. But I saw somebody earlier in the chat say that that was the start of his villain arc. And what Jim did to Karen was unfair, right? He was using her to kind of deal with coming back to Scranton and facing Pam, who rejected him. So, interesting. Okay. But traveling salesman, that's what's next. 3 bullet points I wrote. Dwight covers for Angela, and then he quits, which is always a plot line that I forget exists. And just like Andy quitting in the season 8 episode. Andy tries to worm Michael. Maybe, I guess like he's in the car, right? He says he's trying to worm his way in between Michael and Dwight. He says he tries to coin the term shrewding it, which is does not stick. And Karen then finds out about Jim and Pam's past. I think that's a good moment. I think all up this episode was okay for what it was. Now the picture, I do love that moment. I actually really like every time you see Jim and Dwight on a sales call doing work together. There's always a playful kind of thing that they have going on. I'm just writing the field guide for Turf War, and so I guess that's on my mind. But in Turf War in season 8, they're going on that sales call together to try to beat that guy from the Binghamton branch, which which don't tell me because I'm not looking. I don't think the Binghamton branch is ever talked about in the series at all. And I think they just made it up for that episode. But anyway, they go to the thing and they're fighting all the way. It's a good bit. I'm going to go, as far as this goes, I'm going to go B, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Next is The Return, which is, it's like I wrote Angry Andy Part 1. I wrote Michael and Dwight's rom-com moment in the store. And sorry to annoy you with my friendship. So I do use that sorry I annoy you with my friendship line. Binghamton. Thank you. I do use that line quite often. One of my favorite things to do is to quote The Office in response to people leaving comments on videos that are negative about me. So I just find Office quotes that fit. I've used that one a time or two. Let's see. So The Return is good. Flarmington. The Return is good. It's like Dwight is gone, and so there's a different vibe in the episode. Jim's trying to, but it's off. Like, and off is the point, right? Dwight is gone, And so that's the A, and they need to get to B, which is make everything right again. Uh, and along the way, Jim is finding out Andy is not fun to prank, and Michael is finding out that Andy is not a good number two. And so, but like, is he better than, I mean, whatever. Is he better than Dwight? But up for a debate for somebody else. But I think that that moment in the Staples or wherever Dwight's working at is fantastic, and they're walking out together. There's a movie, and I can't remember exactly what I did in the field guide, but I loved it, that the parallels that the writers made between this episode and that film. This is amazing content when I can't remember what it is that I'm trying to even talk about. All up though, if I was ranking this against everything else, and obviously I'm going to put this down a little lower, towards the bottom of the pot for now. Okay. Ben Franklin is, yeah. So Ben Franklin, I don't know what I ranked this episode, but while I was watching it, I was enthralled with what the writers were doing, with what the actors were doing. I think the actor for Ben Franklin's name's Andy Daly. I could be wrong about that. I didn't look it up. I do know the stripper's name is Jackie DeBaton, and she is a fantastic human being. I've seen her now. I've met her a few times, and the last time I met her, she knew exactly who I was, and I hadn't seen her for 2 years. So, super cool. Anytime somebody remembers my name, I've done something right. So anyway, she was a great human being, and she talked to my wife for like 2 hours at an office convention. But as for the episode, the other three things I wrote, all right, well, I wrote stripper Jackie DeBaton. She's the sweetest. Second thing I wrote was 99% sure that's not the real Ben Franklin, which was a great line and a great bit that they play with only towards the end of the episode. Personally, I would have liked to have seen that bit go through the entirety. And then the third is Ben Franklin's kind of a creep, which actually is kind of like a fun little thing that they're doing, in the episode with the writing, subverting some of the expectations of where the wisdom is coming from. And so I think this episode is, while I'm going to put it here. I think we're going to have to flow through here. Hide is awesome. I just saw somebody, I just saw somebody mention Hide. Yeah. So, okay. The third, let's see. The next one is, okay, Phyllis's wedding. Right. So I think this might have been in my era of trying to, meet as many of the office people as I can, because I think this was a field guide where I interviewed, Robert Schaefer, I saw Ben Franklin, Bob Vance. And so, yeah, this was a good one. Lots of behind the scene details in that episode. I really enjoyed that. Hello, Rose. I really enjoyed that episode. So Michael's petulant, Phyllis's fart, and Robert Schaefer hurting Steve Carell when he was ushering him off that stage. All of these things, I really, really enjoyed this episode, especially feeling like I had a little bit of a personal connection to it, even though I 100% do not. The bit with the uncle, that's all fantastic. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. I appreciate it. I think I don't know, there's so much to love in this one. I'm going to put it here, and then we're going to sort through all of the 3 out of 5s I'm giving, which I think is kind of the purpose of this. So thank you, everybody, for your patience. You are going to help me make a good video when I'm done with all of Season 9's field guides. Okay, next up, business school. I actually think I don't know what I gave this episode. If I remember right, this is the no, this is the um, famous guest director. I'm blanking on the name. Not J.J. Abrams. He did a different episode. Um, but uh, this was an impactful one. Joss Whedon, thank you. This was a Joss Whedon episode. I wrote down uh, candy bars at the school. I wrote down Pam's art, and I think that I wrote down this is, and I'm second guessing. This is the episode where Pam tells Roy. No, that was in Cocktails. Never mind. I'm glad I fixed it. So right, business school is an episode that I don't know how much I appreciated the first time I was going through. I really, really loved this episode. I think it's one of the highlights of the entire season for me. There is so much good in this. The emotional stuff is good, like the drama, and the jokes are fantastic. A skip for Rose. Dang, a skip. I think this episode is amazing. And again, I have little feelings. I feel like I say this all the freaking time now. I don't have big feelings. So when I watch something, when I consume media like this, I can engage emotions in ways that I don't otherwise. And so when I'm watching this episode, it actually works to, I feel like what Pam is feeling in that moment. I also feel why Michael is so enthralled with Pam's art. And her art, you know, wasn't her, like, it's not real, right? It's in creating fictional art is a you know, as a character trait is got to be a difficult thing for a prop person to do. But you know, so her art is not like, right, she's not like amazing or anything, but it's that idea of her capturing the essence of the office, the essence of people without, and it's not perfect and it's not that good. And it's one of those things where that moment is so good that that picture stays on the wall for, you know, the rest of the series, minus like 5 episodes in season 7 or 6. I can't 100% remember when Aaron accidentally ruins it. But they cut that, and I actually don't think that it's even in the field guides. But she ruins the painting for a little bit. It's not on the wall, but then it just magically comes back. But all the way up through to the finale, right? So I think it's one of those moments that kind of defines The Office for me. But the humor in it is also top notch. Michael, I don't know, it's great. I think we could talk about that one. You know, one of the things I'm going S tier. One of the things I've talked about and still trying to figure out what it would look like is when I'm done with season 9 of The Office, what do I do? That's a question I get a lot. And so the answer is, guys, I don't know, but, but I actually, I do know I'm already doing it, to be clear, but like, I think when I'm done specifically with every episode of The Office Field Guide, there's a solid chance I go back through and I do some rewatches of some episodes that I think are that are worth the attention. And yes, Maklovich, yeah, that just yes. Okay, so the chat talking about Jim being a vampire, something I totally even forgot in there. So fantastic bit. I love that. It's good. It's good. Also, Dwight might have killed him. Like, there's a potential that there's a totally different series. You know, if Dwight stabbed Jim out of righteousness. Okay, moving on. Cocktails is not a very beloved episode, I think, by most, but I think it's interesting. There's some good bits in here. Community field guides. I love it. There's some good bits in here, and there's some there are some moments in cocktails that are maybe too dramatic for for the series that we're in. So if I was to use the meme of this is the Office's like trying to be kind of a dramatic show, this might be the peak of that, because the freak out between at the end of the episode with Roy is 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 difficult to watch, right? Um, and it's a there's a lot to that moment, and there's a lot of feelings, big feelings, but there's a lot of like Roy has been working so hard to earn Pam's trust, to earn Pam's love back, and anytime there's a situation like that, you think like, has this person really changed? And um, and then so you kind of wonder that. And then the reason why Pam's so ready to leave, right, is because you find out real quick that like, you know, he hasn't necessarily changed. So yeah, it's a hard one to watch. So I don't know how much that really influences it. And also I don't love all of the David Wallace House stuff. Um, I would love it more if Jim's career ever really worked at Dunder Mifflin. I think that would have been a great like here's the start of that arc, because Wallace pulls him aside and they have their special bro time shooting basketball. And the best bit I think is Dwight, doing his home inspection, which is good. Also, I wrote down jet skis. I don't know why. Maybe the chat knows why I wrote down jet skis for this episode. Who knows? Oh, I know what it is. It's Roy's brother sold jet skis, and he took a he took a beating on him or something. Yeah, thank you, Jared. Roy's brother had the jet skis. Sorry, I'm sure the chat is delayed, so apologize about that. Yeah, so okay, so jet skis. That makes more sense. Cool. All right. Where I'm ranking this, I'm gonna put this here, but maybe if it's supposed to go that way, I think I'd go there. Okay. Next up is the negotiation, which I really, really enjoyed this episode too. So lots to dissect in this one, and I probably already did a pretty good job during that field guide if I remember right. But I really enjoyed the cold opening. Is super dramatic, but also it masterfully entangles the drama with the comedy, and I think that that's like no one else could do. And then they're dealing with the ramifications for that all day. Like Angela is super hot and bothered overhearing Dwight's heroics, and you get the weapons bit. You get all sorts of stuff. Let me see what I wrote down here. I wrote Daryl's made up words, which is fantastic. You get the Michael Wikipedia tactics, and I think that's fantastic. That's a really good bit, and I love that he. So one of the things I don't even know if I noticed whenever I did the field guide is that Michael reads all of these tactics, and then Daryl uses all of them against Michael, and it's pretty good. I don't think he changes the location up. No, he does, because he's the one who's like, we gotta go get you a raise, and so he does change the location on Michael to be able to get what he wants. So yeah, I don't think I even noticed that before. Yeah, lots of great made up words, and then the Roy attacks. I don't think I appreciated in the past too the kind of the negotiation that's happening between Jim and Pam and Roy, right? Like if you think a little bit more abstractly about the word negotiation, at the like, there's this exchange that Jim has, and I think it's kind of douchey in my opinion. But he goes to Pam and he says, "Well, you know, you guys will end up back together." And she's like, "No, we're done." And he's like, "You'll end up together." And it's like, bro, you don't like, what are you doing? You know? But you know, like they only broke up once, and then you know they slowly got back together, but they were engaged. It's not like it's that rare. So it kind of felt like an unearned moment from Jim, but it sets up kind of this negotiation that Pam has to do between the two of them, where she has to say, you know, okay, no, this is not what we're doing. I'm going, you know, we are not getting together ever again. I keep quoting Taylor Swift songs in accident. Um, so there's that. If anybody's wondering, I'm very pro Taylor and Travis Kelce. That's only good for me here in Missouri. So the more Taylor Swift is in Missouri, better for me. Let's see. But where would I put it? I would put it at A tier, and we'll go from there. So safety training. Okay. So this one's for sure going up to. Okay, wait. No, I don't know. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about it first. So there's a lot to love in the safety training episode. So, but I also think that it might get elevated just because of the Dwight, you ignorant slut. Dang it! I don't think I could say that line. Hey, anybody wants to do if this gets demonetized because I say that line? Feel free to do super chats, or we have a Patreon, supports my editors. Okay, so the subject matter of this episode is depression, and it is a heavy episode subject matter wise, but in my opinion, the way that they handle the subject matter is pretty good, because it starts with, like Michael showboating how dangerous his job is, right? But in the process, revealing some things to himself, which are kind of bleak and kind of dark. And it just feels like really good writing. But in the process, the show that they're putting on is good. There are entire segments of this episode that I kind of wish don't exist. Like the friction between the warehouse people and the upstairs people. When the warehouse people are upstairs and they get in a fight, it's like, I don't know. None of that feels funny, and none of it just feels forced and not really. It's all there just to set up why Michael's so resolute, right? So it's fine. I also think that that's a great line. Sorry. Jared shared on the chat. He said, the way Daryl talks Michael down from the ledge is that you're brave. You have to wake up every day and be you. That's bravery. I'm butchering the line, I'm sure, but it was good. I'm gonna go A tier, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Product Recall is a good episode. I wrote down Ungrateful Biatch Hotline. I wrote down Poor Debbie Brown. And I wrote down Identity Theft is Not a Joke. So that's all really good. I'm grateful for Chris 2 weeks ago that wrote these things. Okay. So a couple things I appreciated about this episode when I rewatched it this week. Creed is kind of a creep. He's got somebody fired. What's the right word? The intensity that Michael has to matter is in full display on this episode, where a thing is happening, And I don't know how often something like this would happen. I think it's weird that like places would print something on top of the paper. Like you have to open up a ream of paper and, you know, you can see the paper. So I don't know how you would accidentally like take this and then print stuff on top of it and then send it out. But, you know, it's a comedy show, so I get it. But Michael is it's like he's jazzed about this, but then he goes down this rabbit hole of delusion, and it's kind of fun to watch, and it works out pretty good. um, oh, I just got an ad. Yeah, right on. I didn't. Yeah, so I told it to be super conservative whenever it had him on there. Okay, so let's see. Um, I think I think I'm gonna put this in C tier. I think it's good. It's definitely not the worst of the season, but I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna put it there. You guys let me know. Somebody said B tier. Quabity Ashwins. Yes, that is a thing that is said in this too. That's not this episode though. But it is where he talks about it. Okay. All right. Women's appreciation. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really enjoyed this episode too. Some of the bloopers from this are fantastic. The ones between Michael and um, Angela are great, where they're sitting inside of Victoria's Secret and he's just saying things that are very inappropriate, and they're both struggling to get through these lines. You can even tell in the editing that they had to be very careful with how they edited this. I'm sure it was hard to get through one way or the other. Okay, so notes I wrote, Flasher, which that means we get the iconic GIF of Michael and his zipper. The Michael and the ladies at the mall. Some good jokes there, some good drama, some good mixing of the drama with the humor again, especially when they're sitting around talking about girl stuff and he's saying, you know, that Jan's kind of I don't know what the right word is, but Jan's not Jan and Michael are not on the same page with each other and keeping it monetization safe. And you know, they're like, that's not okay. That's weird. And he's like, no, it's girl stuff. And they're like, it's not. It's a great line. It's simple, but it's great. Angela shopping at the Girl Doll, American Girl Doll store is a good bit. I just saw a shot of Angela holding her baby in season 8 in the free family portrait photo. She's holding the baby, and that kid is like, it's a baby, and it's like this tall on her. She's an extremely short woman, that I feel like the show doesn't it I don't know, it doesn't feel like she's that short when you see her just around the office, but the joke is always that she's short. But I think also at the last convention I was at, I saw one of her outfits, and it really did look like it was for a medium-sized child. So, you know, anyway, I thought this episode was really good. I really did enjoy it. I loved the coming back and breaking up, the sequence where he's leaving a voicemail, much to their dismay, and you know, Jan walks in and then apologizes, and it's just a roller coaster. Everything works really well. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna put it here in B, and we'll sort through. Okay, two more. Beach Games. Michael putting the cart before the horse. So watching this in the sequence, just watching through season 3, there is a jump, right? Like no point is any of this set up that Michael is getting groomed for a job at corporate, right? Like it's just at the beginning of this episode, he hears about the beach games. And so he goes into somebody keeps 6 field guides in a movie. Hey, you keep that up. Maybe we'll make it happen. Okay. So I felt like it was jarring, right? Like, hey, we need a closing arc for the series, or for the season 3 finale, and it just kind of it thrust you into this. That is not a euphemism. So that aside, the beach game episodes for being outside of the office, I think works really well. And I actually watched the Superfan episode of this one, and I really enjoyed that too. Having more footage in this case was really good. Lot to love here. So notes, I put Michael putting the cart before the horse, Pam's coal walk, and then cringe fest, which we'll get to that in a second. And then the hot dogs, that's what she said, which is the famous, Michael says, dip the hot dogs in water and you'll slide them down your gullet faster. And then they cut a that's what she said joke from that. So it's funny to me. So okay. So Pam's coal walk. I kind of remember in the field guide giving her the character, right, a hard time for that outburst because it was cringy. But it felt different when I was watching it yesterday. Watching the entire season in one fell swoop, I just got a different vibe. And watching Pam for the previous 3 or 4 episodes since business school really start to speak up for herself, really start to assert herself in different things, it all felt like it was a natural flow. And while I would be way too socially conscious to ever do something like that in front of people I work with, it's like it really does work from the literary perspective. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I think the coal walk was a metaphor for her to kind of officially level up and put herself out there in a way that she's never really done before. And I thought it was good. And again, they balanced the drama with the humor really well. One of my favorite lines from that episode is when they're all standing around the campfire and Michael's lamenting about how he just wanted someone to be able to replace him, but if nobody's going to step up, he's going to hire, or he's going to find, Mr. Outside Hire. And Angela says, or Mrs. Outside Hire, and then Michael just says, yeah, and then moves on. And I don't know. I love that joke. I think it's well done. So much of this episode there's so much to talk about. It's so good. We're going to put it up in S tier, and I don't want to hear nothing about it. All right. And that leads us to the job. And for this, I wrote Jan's boob job, Jan's old job, and Jim wants the job. Jim wants the job. I think I meant with Pam. So Jim wants that job with Pam. So I think that rewatching this episode, I really enjoyed this this episode as a finale and as a standalone episode. It's been talked to death. I'm sure I spent way too long on this field guide. But almost every part of this episode works to serve the climax of Jim and Michael coming back to Scranton and setting up season 4. And a finale has got to do that. And this executed on that greatly. Greatly, I don't think is the right. It did it well. And so I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the emotional moment at the end where Jim asks her on a date is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, the warning signs are there the entire episode. And my internal monologue is screaming at Jim the entire time of dude, what are you doing? Leave this poor Karen girl alone. Stop stringing her along. They're even in Manhattan walking around. And she says something like, you can't stay in Scranton. There's one more person there's one too many people there. And he's like, Kevin. And then they have a good laugh about it. And she's like, but you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. he's just kicking the can down the road. And knowing Jim, We don't get a breakup scene because he probably didn't break her up. He just like left her, which Andy does the exact same thing in season 8, and I hate it too. But anyway, obviously this one's going to S tier, and yes, the I do okay. So somebody in the chat mentioned the how do trees grow bit, which does remind me of the Dwight secretly asking Pam to be his number 2, and how intensely she does that. And I don't know how to read that, if it's just like she's ready and happy to go with life moving forward, whether Jim's there or not, or what it may be. But it works really, really good. And then they kind of share a moment at the end of it where they are, he says, like, you're the best number 2 that could be. And then, they both salute each other. I think I use that salute gift all the time. Okay, so let me ask the first question. Does anything deserve to be D tier in this episode, in this season? Looking at this list, I don't think anything really deserves to be in D tier. I feel like D tier should be reserved for anything that's in season 8 and beyond. Oh, and season 1. Hot take. Because Hot Girl is not a very good episode. So love that. Okay. So if I had to guess, like, what episode do I think is the best episode of season 3, I'm probably going to put Business School there in the first spot. And then if I was going to put the worst here, I think Return is probably in the worst setting. Let me know if I'm doing this right, by the way. I'm pretty sure that you said you go from left to right to order them. Here, I feel like all these are kind of the same. I might put it like this. I think the Prison Mike episode is great, but I don't know if it's like, actually, now that I'm saying it, maybe that one goes down here. I see why this is fun. You just start shuffling things around. Let me know. Shouldn't Diwali? I did give it did I give it a 5 out of 5? Whoa. I don't know, guys. I might have been wrong. Might be one of those. That's what I think I said it earlier. I need to redo it. I think it stays in B tier, though, to be honest with you. Yeah. I love the coup. I think the coup is good. I think that, let's see. This was the branch closing. I'm not sure it's like that amazeballs. So that gives us, I think Prison Mike's better than that one. Back from Vacation is good, but I like Safety Training higher than that. This is good. Convention is good, but I don't know if it's like up there. I really liked Women's Appreciation. Dude, I can't believe I gave 5 out of 5. What was I thinking? Ooh. No, I have no idea. I don't remember. Initiation's good. Benihana, yeah, these are all they all kind of equalize here in 3 out of 5. Yeah, I don't know if many of these are better than others. Okay. That's my list, everybody. I love it. I don't know if I had anything amazing to close with, but if maybe I will, when I edit this down to a video, I'll go ahead and like do an intro and then an outro. But if you're on the chat and you want to hang out and stay around, then feel free to do so. I'll stay on for a little bit and we can chit chat, talk about some things here and there. Love my list. Let me go. Let's go. It's me. Right. So the list. Got it. I figure what I could do is share a few things that we are doing. I guess it's changed. Um, I 100% do not remember giving that a 5 out of 5, but I made that in the midst of the pandemic. If I recall correctly. Okay. So a lot of things were weird back in 2020. Yeah, when I rewatched it for last week, it didn't stand out to me as like, this is better than the rest of the series. So yeah, I'm telling you, I do think I need to go back through some of these older season 1, season 2, season 3 episodes and take a look at it. Love your list. Despite putting my favorite episode on last place, The Return is your favorite episode. Wow. Okay. Cool. I have no problem. With that. Okay, so a few channel updates. I recently did the Scranton Strangler video. I hope everybody enjoyed that. That was like as hyper as editing as I could muster. I figured that if I was going to do an hour-long video, that I would need to grip people and be a little bit more catchier than what I normally am. Hot Girl will not become A tier. I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I did not. I did rewatch season 2 whenever I did that tier video, but I did not rewatch season 1. So maybe that would have been wise. Thanks for the kind words on the Scranton Strangler video. I really enjoyed it. Barring the fact that I did spend like 2 weeks writing it and then rewriting it and then rewriting it, and I was frustrated all along the way because I was like, I've already talked about the Scranton Strangler so much. I think I was on a stream last year with Brent Forrester, one of the writers, talking about the Scranton Strangler. I did that Scranton Strangler true crime series, and I was like, nobody wants to hear me talk about the Strangler more, and that video's the best performing video I've done so far. Oh, we got thank you, Jared. I appreciate that. Season 2 or season 3 better? I'm going to be honest with you. I like season 3 better than I liked season 2. I think that they managed the drama of the series much better in season 3, and the pacing of all of the episodes works much better for my particular sensibilities. I can appreciate slow moving things, but in a comedy, I want it to be funny, and I want it to be quick witted. And almost every episode of season 3 has some killing field of jokes where it is a consistent. Man, I hope did I lose everybody? I didn't lose everybody, did I? Okay, hopefully we're still on. This thing over here looks like it's spinning. So season 2 has some amazing content. Yeah, like no problems there. But the season 3 to me, they tend to manage everything, the timing of everything a lot better. So that's just my take. But I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. Okay, so Scranton Strangler, that was a labor of love. I rewrote that. I rewrote it twice, and then I went to film it, and I stood up and I recorded myself for an entire hour, and by the end of it, I was like, this is crap. And so I cut everything, and then I rewrote that entire hour again. So when I said in that, like, creating a field guide video or how I write YouTube videos, when I made that really quick joke about I just erase everything I wrote and start over again, I'm not kidding. Like I do that almost every single video I write for YouTube. I start with something because I'm like, this is genius. I love this. And then I go and I read it out loud now as one of my steps. And if I go read it out loud, I'm like, what was I thinking? This was dumb. And so, Anyway, then I had to rewrite it again, and then I recorded it, and recording it took about an hour and a half, and then maybe 2 hours. I don't know. I know I was taking breaks because, as you could tell, as the stream has gone on, I don't talk this much in my normal life. You guys have heard me talk more in the last hour, however long I've been doing this, than probably anybody in my life in the last 3 weeks has heard me talk. So congratulations. So my voice is not like this, is not acclimated for this level of talking. Anyway, editing that video, it was another labor of love, where it was probably 2 weeks of pretty intense sessions of editing. And I really did want to make it as quick paced and enjoyable as possible. That's what she said. And it was one of those things where, for me, I knew that I needed to make sure that if I was doing an hour long on something, I wanted it to be good. So that's what we did. I thought it worked out good, and I loved it. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. So my plan, just so everybody knows, is my goal for the next several months is 3 office field guides and a what I just call an ancillary video. So that Scranton Strangler video was an ancillary video. This for February. I've got 3 field guides and 3 field guides and a video about the Superfan episodes of The Office. And season 7 came out. Otherwise, I'd have had that video kind of already being worked on. But as is, I just have a script. So Fluffy Pro actually is in here. I've seen him in the chat. He's a I don't know what. He helps with script writing. So he's helped me with some of these ancillary videos get some scripts started, and he's really great at that. So definitely helping me out with some of those. So kudos to Fluffy Pro, which is not his name, but that's the screen name. Let's see. So that's the plan for February. For April and other things, I am going to be starting to diversify, like I already was, diversifying some of the content. Definitely wanted to hit the ground running with some Office content for January, February. Moving on from there, it might be Community if Squid Livers is going to keep leaving that comment. But I have a list that I've written out, like a content calendar for the year so far. Last year was kind of a bust in terms of channel growth and channel. I didn't intend to be an Office YouTuber. I just love The Office. So, but over the first few years, the content that I made that did really well was The Office. And so, I kind of became an Office YouTuber. And so anytime you're diversifying your content, you're probably going to struggle for a little bit. So, which is fine. Last year was a little bit of a bust, and that's okay. But we'll see as things go this year. I have more Superstore content in the works. I've got some other ideas for, for theory type videos and just other commentary stuff. So I do want to kind of focus on workplace commentary and different things like that, because I find that to be very compelling with my life as a guy that works in a corporate office. So it feels good. Also, I did rewatch season 1 of Parks and Rec the other day, and yeah, maybe something that we talk about in the future. Community. Favorite season 9 character? That's a good question. I don't know. Is Dwight a fair answer, or do you mean like Plop? Because I definitely prefer Clark. I definitely prefer Clark to Plop, but I liked them, to be honest with you. You know, I thought if they were going to inject a few people into the office, I thought they were fine. Um, I thought the whole thing where Jan is like using Clark as a, I thought that was like weird and problematic and like for the sake of comedy, I get it, but it was weird. Um, but I had to pull some clips from that season, and I think I was doing something with Andy coming back from the boat, and he said, um, Dwight is talking to Jan on the phone, and he says something like Jan, don't you remember what happened all your nights with Clark alone? don't don't forget. And yeah, so prostitution is not okay to earn business. Okay, let's see. What else do we want to talk about? I have a Patreon. You guys can join the Patreon. That's lovely. Also, don't have to do it. I don't expect your money. And also, at this point, none of your money really goes to me. It's just going to pay for the editing. So it helps me actually manage the channel, especially in a year like last year where the views were good, steady. I mean, the channel makes money, but it doesn't make a ton of money when I'm, paying the editor. So, it's yeah. So Patreon's a good option if that's something you're into. Let's see. I don't really have anything else. So if anybody wants to throw some questions at me real quick, we can do that. And other than that, I will sign off here in just a minute. Not sponsored by Raising Cane's. 6 seasons in a field guide. Heard. So the thing with Community that I have held to is that, thank you, Jared, is that Jeff Winger always gives the deeper meaning of the episode. Like, so my entire thing would just be, like recapping episodes of Community. It actually sounds great. I don't know. I just talked myself into it. So, so maybe. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining the stream. Appreciate y'all, and have a good night.